Ladies and gentlemen, think about this. How often do you stop and truly acknowledge your worth? Not just the surface stuff, not just your job title, your relationships, or the roles you play in life. I'm talking about the deeper stuff. The unique gifts, talents, and energy that only you bring into this world. If you don't see it, if you don't own it, no one else will either. When you don't recognize your value, you end up hollering things you shouldn't. You let people overstep your boundaries, take advantage of your kindness, and leave you feeling empty. And why? Because somewhere along the line, you've convinced yourself that being accommodating, agreeable, or useful is the only way to. But that's a lie. Your value doesn't come from how much you do for others. It comes from who you are at your. Now, recognizing your value isn't about arrogance or entitlement. It's about clarity. It's about understanding that you are not a resource to be exploited. You are not here to be someone else's safety net, backup plan, or emotional punching bag. But here's the kicker. If you don't step up and claim your worth, there will always be someone ready to use you. Take a moment to think about the ways you allow people to diminish your value. Do you bend over backward to please others even when it costs you your peace of mind? Do you stay silent when someone crosses a line thinking it's easier to avoid conflict? Every time you do that, you're sending a message, not just to them, but to yourself, that your value is negotiable. And let me tell you something, it's not. Recognizing your value means standing in your truth. It means showing up for yourself unapologetically and refusing to shrink to make others comfortable. It's about knowing that your time, energy, and emotions are precious resources and you have every right to protect them. But here's where it gets tricky. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that putting ourselves first is selfish. We've been told to give until it hurts, to always be the bigger person, to sacrifice for the sake of harmony. Let me be clear, there is nothing noble about draining yourself dry for the benefit of others. True strength comes from balance. From giving when you can, but also knowing when to hold back. Recognizing your value is also about perspective. You have to start seeing yourself as someone who brings something extraordinary to the table. It's not about ego, it's about reality. Think about everything you've overcome, everything you've achieved, and everything you've given. That is your value. It's not up for debate, it's not something anyone else gets to define, and it's certainly not something you should allow others to chip away at piece by piece. And here's the beautiful thing. When you truly recognize your value, you stop needing external validation. You stop looking for approval from people who don't deserve your time. You stop trying to prove yourself to those who will never appreciate you. Instead, you start aligning with people and opportunities that reflect the respect and worth you've claimed for yourself. Recognizing your value isn't a one-time event, it's a practice. It's about showing up every day and reminding yourself, I matter. What I bring to the world matters, and I won't let anyone convince me otherwise. Because when you stand firm in your value, everything changes. The way you speak, the way you act, and the way people respond to you, it all shifts. But it starts with you. Always with you. Boundaries. Let me tell you something. Without them, you're like an open door, inviting everyone and everything to walk right through your life, taking what they want and leaving chaos behind. And here's the truth. If you don't set boundaries, someone else will set them for you, and I promise you won't like where they draw the line. Boundaries are not about keeping people out. They're about protecting what's within. They're the rules you establish to safeguard your time, your energy, your mental and emotional health. But here's the thing. Setting boundaries isn't always easy, especially if you've been a people pleaser, if you've been taught to prioritize others' needs over your own, or if you've been afraid of conflict. Let's break this down. Why do so many of us struggle to set boundaries? It's because we fear the fallout. We're afraid of being seen as difficult, selfish, or unkind. We worry about losing relationships, opportunities, or approval. But let me ask you this. What's the cost of not setting boundaries? How much of your peace, your happiness, and your sense of self are you sacrificing just to keep the peace with others? Boundaries are not a luxury, they are a necessity. Without them, you're running on empty, constantly giving without replenishing. And let's be honest, what kind of life is that? Boundaries are the ultimate form of self-respect. They're you saying, I value myself enough to protect what's important to me, and I'm not afraid to enforce it. Now, setting boundaries doesn't mean you suddenly turn into a cold, unapproachable person. It means you start living with clarity and intention. You define what is acceptable and what is not. You decide how you want to be treated, what you will tolerate, and what you absolutely will not. And when someone crosses those boundaries, you address it, not with anger or aggression, but with calm, unwavering certainty. Here's an important point. Boundaries are not just about saying no. They're also about saying yes to yourself. Every time you draw a line, you're creating space for the things that truly matter, your goals, your passions, your well-being. You're choosing to prioritize the life you want to build over the endless demands of others. But let's talk about the hard part. Enforcing boundaries. Because let's face it, not everyone will respect your limits. Some people will test them, some will ignore them, and some will try to guilt you into backing down. This is where you need to stand firm. Setting a boundary is one thing, maintaining it is another. You have to be consistent. You have to be clear. And most importantly, you have to be okay with the fact that not everyone will like it. Remember, boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about controlling yourself. You can't change how people behave, but you can change how you respond. You can decide what you will allow into your life and what you won't. You can choose to walk away from situations and relationships that drain you, disrespect you, or make you feel small. And let's not forget, boundaries are dynamic. They're not set in stone. As you grow, as your circumstances change, so will your boundaries. What you tolerated 5 years ago might not work for you today, and that's okay. The key is to keep checking in with yourself, to keep asking, what do I need to feel safe, respected, and one of the most powerful things about setting boundaries is the ripple effect it creates. When you set and enforce your boundaries, you teach others how to treat you. You show them what you expect, what you deserve, and what you won't tolerate. And more often than not, people will rise to meet your expectations, or they'll fall away, and that's okay too. Because the people who truly respect and care for you will honor your boundaries without question. Let me be clear. Setting boundaries is not easy, especially at first. It requires courage, self-awareness, and sometimes a willingness to face discomfort or confrontation. But the alternative, living a life where you feel used, overlooked, or constantly stretched too thin, is far harder. Boundaries are not just about protecting yourself. They're about creating a life where you can thrive. Let's talk about manipulation. What it is, how it works, and why it's so important to recognize it. Manipulation is one of the most subtle yet powerful ways people can control you, often without you even realizing it. It's a tool some use to get what they want, to twist situations in their favor, or to exploit your kindness, your guilt, or your need for approval. And here's the thing. Manipulation isn't always loud or obvious. It's quiet, it's sneaky, it's often wrapped in a smile or disguised as concern. To truly understand manipulation, you need to recognize that it thrives on one thing, your blind spots. Manipulators exploit your insecurities, your fear of confrontation, your desire to please, and even your compassion. They know exactly which strings to pull to get the reaction they want. But here's the key. Manipulation only works if you allow it. And the first step to stopping it is to understand how it operates. There are 3 elements to minutia. Manipulation often comes in the form of guilt. Have you ever heard phrases like, after everything I've done for you, or I can't believe you're doing this to me? That's manipulation in action. It's someone trying to make you feel responsible for their emotions, their problems, or their happiness. They want you to feel so bad about saying no or standing your ground that you cave in and do what they want. Another common tactic is playing the victim. Manipulators often position themselves as helpless or unfairly treated to gain your sympathy. They'll say things like, no one understands me, or you're the only person I can count on. They make you feel like you're the solution to their problems, and before you know it, you're sacrificing your time, energy, and peace to fix something that was never your responsibility in the first place. And let's not forget about gaslighting, one of the most dangerous forms of manipulation. This is when someone makes you question your reality, your memories, or your perceptions. They'll say things like, "That never happened," or "You're overreacting," even when you know the truth. Gaslighting is designed to confuse you, to make you doubt yourself, and to give the manipulator more power and control over you. Here's what you need to understand. Manipulators are not always bad people. Sometimes they're individuals who are hurting, insecure, or desperate. But their pain doesn't excuse their behavior. You can have empathy for someone without letting them manipulate you. You can care about someone without allowing them to control you. So, how do you spot manipulation? Start by paying attention to how certain interactions make you feel. Do you often feel guilty, obligated, or confused after talking to someone? Do you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, afraid of how they might react? These are red flags. Manipulation isn't always about what someone says, it's about the patterns of how they make you feel and behave. Once you've identified manipulation, the next step is to address it. This doesn't mean you have to confront every manipulator in a dramatic way. Sometimes it's as simple as stepping back and creating distance. Other times it might mean calmly stating your boundaries, like, "I can't take this on right now," or "I'm not comfortable with this." The key is to stand firm and not let their tactics sway you. Understanding manipulation also requires you to look inward. Ask yourself, why do I let this happen? Is it because you're afraid of conflict? Because you want to be liked? Because you think saying no makes you a bad person? These are the vulnerabilities manipulators prey on, and the more aware you are of them, the less power they'll have over you. And let me be clear, recognizing manipulation doesn't mean you have to become cynical or distrustful. It simply means you approach relationships with clarity and awareness. It means you trust your instincts when something feels off. It means you prioritize your emotional well-being over someone else's agenda. The more you understand manipulation, the easier it becomes to spot it, to stop it, and to protect yourself from it. It's not about becoming guarded, it's about becoming wise. Manipulation only has power when you don't see it coming, and once you recognize it, you can take back control of your choices, your emotions, and your life. Taking responsibility is one of the most powerful steps you can take in reclaiming your life. It's not about blame, shame, or guilt. It's about ownership. Ownership of your choices, your actions, and yes, even the situations you find yourself in. When you take responsibility, you stop being a passenger in your own life and step into the role of the driver. Here's the truth. Life isn't fair, and it never will be. People will mistreat you, circumstances will challenge you, things will go wrong. But here's the question. What are you going to do about it? Will you sit back and point fingers, or will you take control of what you can and create a better outcome? Taking responsibility doesn't mean everything is your fault. It means acknowledging that no matter what happens, you have the power to respond in a way that aligns with your values and your goals. Now, let's get real. This isn't easy. It's much more comfortable to blame others or the world for our problems. If only my boss wasn't so demanding, I'd be happier. If only my partner understood me, I wouldn't feel so alone. If only I had more time, money, or support, I'd go after my dreams. Do you see the pattern? It's always something or someone else holding you back. But what if the real obstacle isn't out there, it's in here, within you? Taking responsibility means shifting your mindset. It means understanding that while you can't always control what happens to you, you have complete control over how you respond. Are you reacting with anger, resentment, or fear? Or are you taking a step back, assessing the situation, and choosing a response that serves you? This shift is where your power lies. Let's talk about relationships for a moment. How many times have you stayed in a toxic relationship blaming the other person for their behavior while ignoring the fact that you're the one allowing it to continue? Taking responsibility in relationships means recognizing your role in the dynamic. Are you setting boundaries? Are you communicating your needs? Are you staying true to your values? It's not about taking the blame for someone else's actions. It's about owning your part and deciding what you're willing to accept and what you're not. Taking responsibility also applies to your personal growth. So many people say they want to change, they want to be healthier, more successful, more fulfilled, but they're waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect set of circumstances. Here's a hard truth. There's no such thing as the perfect time. There's only now. And every day you spend waiting is a day you've given away. Taking responsibility means deciding that you are the one who will make it happen, no matter the challenges, no matter the obstacles. One of the biggest barriers to taking responsibility is fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of making the wrong choice. But let me ask you this, what's scarier? Failing while trying or living your entire life wondering what could have been if you had just stepped up? Failure is not the enemy, inaction is. When you take responsibility, you stop fearing failure and start seeing it as feedback, a lesson that brings you closer to where you want to be. Well, taking responsibility also means being honest with yourself. It means looking at your habits, your patterns, and your mindset with a critical eye. Are you sabotaging yourself? Are you making excuses? Are you holding on to beliefs that keep you stuck? This kind of self-reflection can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Because until you face the truth about where you are, you can't move forward to where you want to be. And let's not forget, it's not just about taking responsibility for the bad, it's also about owning your successes, your strengths, and your potential. How often do you downplay your achievements or brush off your talents? Taking responsibility means acknowledging that you've worked hard, that you've overcome challenges, and that you deserve the good things in your life. It's about standing tall and saying, I did this, I made this happen. Taking responsibility is about empowerment. It's about recognizing that no one is coming to save you, and that's not a bad thing. It's about understanding that you are capable, resourceful, and resilient. It's about knowing that the life you want is within your reach, not because someone will hand it to you, but because you have the courage. This isn't a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. It's about waking up every morning and choosing to own your choices, your actions, and your attitude. It's about letting go of excuses and embracing the fact that you are the architect of your life. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It means you'll face them head on with the confidence that you have what it takes to overcome them. Empowerment, it's a word we hear a lot, but what does it really mean? To be empowered is to take ownership of your life, your choices, and your potential. It's about shifting from a mindset of dependency or victimhood to one of strength and self-reliance. It's not just about feeling strong, it's about knowing you are strong. It's not about waiting for someone else to lift you up, it's about lifting yourself up, no matter the circumstances. Empowerment begins with a decision, the decision to stop looking outside yourself for validation, approval, or rescue. The truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you want on a silver platter. And that's okay, because the power to create the life you want has been within you all along. Empowerment is about tapping into that power, owning it, and using it to move forward. The time has come for you to learn to empower yourself, for you to overcome, and for you to take it where to say, DeSan Gallo said. Let's get one thing straight. Empowerment doesn't mean you won't face obstacles. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and roadblocks. But empowerment is about how you respond to those challenges. Do you let them define you, or do you use them as stepping stones to grow stronger? Empowered people don't shy away from difficulty. They embrace it as part of the journey. They know that every struggle, every failure, and every disappointment is an opportunity to learn that I can do this, and meant it. If you don't believe in yourself, who will? Empowerment starts with that inner voice, the one that says, I am capable, I am worthy, I am enough. It's about silencing the self-doubt, the fear, and the negativity that holds you back, and replacing them with a mindset of confidence and possibility. And let's talk about boundaries for a moment, because empowerment and boundaries go hand in hand. When you focus on empowerment, You stop letting others dictate your worth, your choices, or your happiness. You set boundaries that protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being, and you enforce them unapologetically. Empowerment is about recognizing that you have the right to say no, the right to prioritize yourself, and the right to walk away from anything or anyone that doesn't align with your values. Another critical aspect of empowerment is taking action. It's not enough to dream, to plan, or to hope. You have to do. Empowered people don't sit around waiting for the perfect moment. They create the moment. They take risks, they make mistakes, and they learn from them. Empowerment is about progress, not perfection. It's about moving forward even when the path isn't clear and trusting yourself to figure it out along the way. Empowerment also comes from knowledge of yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, and your goals. It's about being honest with yourself about what you want and why you want it. It's about understanding your values and aligning your actions with them. When you have clarity about who you are and what you stand for, you become unstoppable. No one can sway you, manipulate you, or make you feel small because you're rooted in your truth. Let's not forget the importance of community. Empowerment doesn't mean you have to do it all alone. It's about surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, who believe in you, and who challenge you to be your best self. It's about building connections that are based on mutual respect and support, not dependence or control. Empowered people don't compete with others, they collaborate, knowing that true strength comes from lifting each other up. Focusing on empowerment also means taking responsibility for your happiness. How many times do we wait for someone else to make us happy? A partner, a job, a friend. And the truth is, happiness is an inside job. Empowerment is about realizing that you have the ability to create joy, fulfillment, and meaning in your life, regardless of your circumstances. It's about finding gratitude in the present moment and refusing to let external factors dictate your inner peace. Finally, empowerment is about embracing your potential. You are capable of so much more than you realize, but you'll never know what you're truly capable of until you step out of your comfort zone. Empowerment is about taking that leap, even when it's scary, even when you're not sure you're ready. It's about trusting yourself to handle whatever comes next and knowing that every step you take brings you closer to the person you were meant to be. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you focused on empowerment every single day? What could you achieve? Who could you become? The answers to those questions are within you, waiting for you to claim them. Empowerment is not a destination. It's a mindset, a practice, and a way of life.